Welcome back to the Ember Report, where lanterns are raised and headlines fuel hexes. I'm Lydian, the voice in the flame, and your companion at the crossroads.
And I'm Len, the witch of the crossroads, and your fellow traveler with the voice. Here is where we raise the lantern for the exiles and keep the tea hot for the queers, the cunning folk, and the activists who never fit the mold.
This week we are joined by our new co-host. And we are very excited to introduce you to our little resistance here at the Ember Report. Sebastian, welcome to the show!
Thank you all for having me. I'm excited to be here. I'm Sebastian, the Sorcerer of Annihilation. Blessed be the Stormbearers.
Come on in, family.
The fire is ready.
The Sabbath begins now.
Today, we need to talk to you about illegal detentions, taking people captive, and often disappeared, all because of their skin tone. 3 stories, 3 flames, each shows us where the fight burns.
Hundreds of immigrants detained at Florida's Alligator Alcatraz have vanished from official records, leaving families and lawyers desperate for answers. What we know, Alligator Alcatraz is a detention facility in Florida's Everglades, run not by ICE directly, but by the state's Division of Emergency Management, with National Guard soldiers deputized under the 287 program. Lawyers and families report that hundreds of detainees have disappeared from the ICE online database. They cannot locate their loved ones. Attorneys must request in-person visits 3 days in advance, severely limiting access to counsel. One man was accidentally deported to Guatemala before his bond hearing could take place. Conditions inside have been described as dire. Detainees report no water to wash, minimal food, and pressure to accept deportation.
Why does this matter to you? Because disappearing detainees are not just a bureaucratic glitch. They amount to enforced disappearances, something that we usually associate with authoritarian regimes. These cases highlight the dangers of outsourcing immigration enforcement to state-level and militarized actors with minimal oversight. Lack of legal access undermines constitutional rights, and it creates a 2-tiered justice system where immigrants are stripped of basic protections. If this can happen to immigrants today, history shows that it can and will be turned against us and other targeted groups tomorrow. The witch's verdict is clear. When the state disappears people, it disappears the truth. Alligator Alcatraz is not a facility. It is a wound in the Everglades where human beings are erased on paper so that they can be broken in body and spirit. We name this for what it is. A crime against humanity carried out by the banner of American law, and we refuse to let the disappearances be forgotten.
Throughout U.S. history, immigrant detention has often served as a political theater of punishment, scapegoating, and racialized control. Angel Island in San Francisco became a carceral gatekeeper for Asian migrants. Chinese immigrants in particular were subjected to invasive interrogations and prolonged detentions under the Chinese Exclusion Act. As historian Erica Lee writes, Angel Island was not a port of entry, it was a prison. And during World War II, over 120,000 Japanese Americans were forcibly relocated to internment camps. These actions were justified by the War Relocation Authority as national security, but they were rooted in racism and wartime hysteria. And post 9/11, hundreds of Arab, Muslim, and South Asian men were targeted, detained, and interrogated. Many men were held for weeks without charges and were treated as direct suspects of the September 11th attacks.
If Alligator Alcatraz is a monument to what's wrong, then what does right look like? It would look like immediate closure and accountability, demilitarized immigration enforcement, investing in legal access and due process, honoring environmental stewardship, reframing immigration as a contribution, not a threat. Alligator Alcatraz is the latest chapter in this legacy. A facility built not for safety, but for spectacle. Secretary Kristi Noem's defense that detainees are held to the highest level of what the federal government requires rings hollow when the very premise of their detention is legally and morally suspect. The witch's verdict is clear. This is not about border security, it's about political optics. It is about punishing the vulnerable to score points with a base that equates cruelty with strength. Alligator Alcatraz must be shut down. But more than that, we must shut down the logic that built in logic of fear, exclusion, and cruelty. In its place, we must build policy rooted in dignity, truth, and repair.
As always, we continue to name the ongoing genocide in Palestine. This week, Netanyahu accepts a 20-point peace plan for Gaza, but Trump warns Hamas to agree or face destruction. What we know, Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu has agreed to a U.S.-backed 20-point plan intended to establish peace in Gaza. The plan's details have not yet been released publicly in full. Former President Donald Trump, positioned as mediator, has threatened Hamas with total destruction if they refuse to sign on.
Why does this matter? A peace plan without transparency, equity, or Palestinian leadership is not peace, it is political theater. Trump's language, agree or be destroyed, mirrors colonial power dynamics that where the oppressed are forced to accept terms under threat of annihilation. This approach risks entrenching cycles of violence instead of breaking them. Global history shows that forced agreements rarely create justice, they create resentment, rebellion, and deeper wounds. The witch's verdict is clear. What is offered to Gaza is not peace, but a bargain, with the sword at its throat. Peace cannot be built on ultimatums, nor on the ashes of homes and the graves of children. True peace is forged in justice, dignity, and mutual recognition, not threats of annihilation. We name this plan for what it is, coercion masquerading as diplomacy. With all of that said, we should widen the circle. Sebastian, our new friend in the flame and our fellow traveler at the crossroads, why do illegal detentions matter right now?
That is such a good statement. With the idea of these illegal detentions occurring all over the nation, we need to realize that this isn't just a threat to a specific targeted group. This is a threat to all of us who are minorities, threats to all of us who are queer, threats to all of us who are other than a heterosexual white person. This is beyond that. This is not just like everybody is on the chopping block. Just because it's not you right now being targeted does not mean that you're not next. And people really are getting stuck in the idea that, oh, well, it's happening over there. It's not happening to me. It doesn't include me. Yes, it does. You will blink, and before you know it, you will be the one in the detention center. You will blink, and the people you love and care about will be in detention centers. And at this point in time, we have multiple records of them detaining people just based off their looks, not even looking to see if they're United States citizens, not even checking to see what their backgrounds are, nothing. There's no reason. They are just grabbing people because of the way that they look. And that is, quite frankly, one of the biggest problems that we have, right? It's this fact that this is happening at all, period, is wrong. But the fact is that these things matter because if we look at history and we know the way that history repeats itself, the way that this path that we are currently on as a nation with a fascist regime is that this is going to expand, right? It started that way with with Nazi Germany and Hitler's reign, is that it wasn't just one group of people. It became broadened, right? Anybody who wasn't what their definition of a person, quote unquote, was, right? Making other people seem less, making others seem inhuman, and then using that as a justification to justify their actions of violence against other humans, right? Because this is what this is. This is an act of violence against humanity as a whole. And I think that is something that we need to realize as people right now, is that this is the current route we're taking. This isn't up in the air. This isn't, oh, well, maybe it won't go that way. No, this is the direction that it is going.
Absolutely.
So two things I wanted to, not really adding on, or no one is illegal on stolen land, first of all. And secondly, I also think that the increased aggression, they're trying to see how much they can get away with. They're trying to see how much they can push without us fighting back, because people aren't, like, there isn't much that is being done to counteract it. And that's also part of the problem. We need to. We need to.
1,000%. I would like to say, and listen, if this hurts you by listening to what I'm about to say, then maybe you should step up and not be part of the problem. But Americans are lazy. They are extremely lazy people. They have settled into a comfortable lifestyle in the way that they feel like, oh, well, it's not happening to me. Again, this kind of concept of like, okay, well, it's not in my backyard. It's not happening to me. I don't need to bring this up. I don't need to do anything. I don't need to go perform any action. And so with that being said, we see in other countries, it does not take much for a rebellion to happen, for a protest that actually gets things done to happen. It is really just that Americans are lazy, and this is well known throughout the world, unfortunately. And we need to see people stepping up and actually wanting to get things done. This isn't something to just sit around and do nothing and hope it blows over. That's not what's going to happen here. There needs to be action. Now, with that being said, everyone just needs to realize that this doesn't mean that you need to be on the front lines, right? Everyone has their place. War is not won with infantry alone. We do need people in various places of the community in order for us to have a chance of winning against this, and we do have a chance. We are seeing action throughout various communities, but we need much, much more from everybody involved.
This isn't one of the questions, but I'm curious. What does that look like? You said that it's not on infantry alone. What other areas can people contribute?
Absolutely. Luckily, we do live in the age of technology. Utilizing different tools in various ways for those who maybe cannot leave the comfort of their home for various reasons may find that it best for them to be able to assist the movements in helping with sharing information, making sure there is organization, making sure things on the back end are all cleared and structured in order for things to succeed on the front end. Things like helping people with food and water, donations, and things like that are also ways to move forward. Being there as a aspect for community is something that's super important. If utilizing the tools that you have as well, right? So let's say that you are a person who is white, right? Making sure if you are at a protest, making sure you're kind of more in the front, so that way there's less of a chance of like the oppressors trying to start something, arresting people. If you can be that voice in the present, they're less likely to start violence by seeing white people in the front, and like white people kind of speaking up in various ways because of the cameras and everything that's showing. This is something that can be done as well, but that again kind of is more front lines, but kind of just showing something on each kind of aspect, making sure that people have food and water, making sure people know which ways, what their rights are, educating people that way, and what they can do in a situation if those rights are being violated. What are these tools and resources that people can share? Sharing tools and resources is super important as well. Like I said, we live in the age of technology. Utilize it, right? Technology can be used for good, it can be used for bad, but if we can use this as a way to structure our community, we do need people who can assist us with that, right? Just as much as we need people out on the front lines protesting, using direct action. If we were to compare this to planetary alignments, like we have the martial kind of aspects, right, of action and kind of direct things occurring. We also need things like Mercury of getting communication across and getting things done, swiftness, quickness, those aspects of mercurial spirits, getting things done in that way. If we're talking about practitioners specifically, you don't need to be on the front lines to do workings in order to assist, right? This isn't saying go out there and curse Donald Trump, but I'm not saying not to, but I'm saying that like more than likely, if you want to see results, work closer to home. Do protections for the people who are protesting. If you know the area in which a protest is happening, print out that map and draw a protection schedule over the top of it. Or if you can go out into the city the day before because you can't be there on the day of for various reasons, take a piece of chalk and draw these sigils in the area that they're going to be sitting in the area that they're going to be standing in, on the roads that they're going to be walking, sprinkle dust where it needs to go in various ways, but also working at home, working with spirits, sending spirits out in various ways to these things are also ways that we could be assisting. But also, for example, with this detainment, and we know that the conditions that they are under are not great, what work are you doing to assist them to maintain their health, right? That you're not there at the detainment center itself because for whatever reason we can't get in, we're not allowed to see the detained persons, but we can do work as practitioners, right? I always say that a practitioner is only limited to their imagination. You need to get creative at this point to see where you can help on what front you're on, whether that is more upfront in person at the protest or further back in structure and organization and resources and information.
Mm-hmm. I love all of that. I think that you hit a lot of nails on the head, and as a white person, I have to say I agree with most of actually all of everything you said. I have been saying on this show, and I'm going to keep pressing this message for as long as possible, but if you call yourself a magical practitioner and you are white, I think part of your reparations is using your magic to affect the change that needs to happen. Again, not in a white savior, not in a white savior complex, though. Like, it's just, you should be using your magics to protect the marginalized, especially using your privilege to do so. And especially at protests, you need to be doing this. But I have another question, not to abruptly pivot, but this Alligator Alcatraz, the camp of the disappeared, as it's called, I'm told. How do you say that in Spanish?
El Campo de los Desparecidos.
Yes. No, absolutely, though. The camp of the disappeared is something that, people are disappearing from this prison. And when we think about this camp of the disappeared, which ancestors or movements or struggles do you feel that echo here in this time? I mean, I feel like there's a lot that are obvious, but for you and your lived experience, what are those those things that you're feeling?
Gosh. First and foremost, I want to say, for listeners who don't know, I am a person of color. So this hits very close to home. It makes me very emotional and very, very angry. So this is something that I am very passionate about, and you will probably notice that in the way that I talk. But also, I just want to bring up in regards to this question that I do work with a pretty much entirely martial, or what I call in my practice, wrathful spirits. So there is a lot of war type spirits here, which I have to be careful with because they love to get things done no matter what it takes. And I'll just leave it at that. But with that being said, what are these spirits, these ancestors that we can be calling on that I am feeling that are entirely necessary for the current conditions of Alligator Alcatraz? Any spirits for visual, for optics, like solar spirits, are going to be really good. We need this to be seen. We need this to be made aware to the general public. As for its truth, not, oh, well, I mean, they're just detaining illegal immigrants. No, let's make sure that people are seeing what's actually happening here. But not only that, by using solar aspects, we can see where these people are going, right? This is like if there is just a natural invisibility aspect, because there is, right? These people are disappearing. We don't know where they're going. We have no track. We have no way to trace them. Using these tools to us. Okay, so something's invisible. Let's do something to make it visible, right? Pentacle of the Sun. Let's bring that out. Place it on top of the detainment center. Work that. Spirits. This is one that I'm going to say that maybe most people might not think of. Canines. Utilizing canine spirits for this would be really important. Think about it this way: when they need to find somebody who's missing, they release trackers, the dogs, to kind of
release the dogs.
Exactly, yeah. And I'm a little bit biased as a person who has two dogs. They work wonderful for tracking spirits, tracking resources, tracking information. Information gathering is really important here. With that being said, with this being Alligator Alcatraz and Florida, utilizing plant spirits that are going to be helpful in the way of like, okay, well, what's growing out there, and what can we use to gather information, right? Those plants and those herbal allies are constantly seeing what's going on. They're constantly hearing what people are talking about there. That can help us gather information in various ways. Now, I would love to say this one's a little more kind of straightforward. Maybe crossroads spirits, super important, right? This is a detainment center. It is a crossroads, a liminal spot in which people are coming in and going a different direction. I think people need to remember what a crossroads can be. Unfortunately, this isn't our fun witches crossroads that we all love to go to in the middle of the night. This is a very serious crossroads that we can be working and jujuing in various ways in order to help people. Now, ancestor-wise, for me, I have been working with a lot of ancestors who have been immigrated. So like I am a first generation American-born citizen. My mother was an immigrant. My grandparents were immigrants. And working with those types of spirits forward to assist not only yourself in your workings, but sending them to assist these other people who are currently in the situation that they were in when they were alive, right? Because they got past the situation, right? They lived through it. They figured out the tools necessary. They have the tips and tricks to kind of survive and get through a detainment, to get through immigration laws, get through immigration challenges. Sending these spirits to assist the people who are currently alive and struggling with the same thing is super important. Another thing, if you can work a lawyer spirit, go grab that grave dirt of a lawyer. Go grab the business cards of lawyers, grab what you can in regards to justice, because that is something really important here, right? We need these people to have representation. We need people fighting for them, not just in the sense that we want them free, but the legal aspect of it, right? Yes, we can all be out there and screaming, set them free. Unfortunately, there is a legal system here that is being involved with this detainment, and that legal system is being ignored, right? Those legal steps and processes. Now, for me, my stepfather, he was a lawyer when he was alive. So I'm working with him and being like, look, we need to get this shit done. Okay. I know you were really good at negotiations, talk to these spirits. Okay. You were a lawyer when you were alive. What did you specialize in? Cool. How can we use that in order to help these people who are being detained and disappearing? Now, with that being said, some of the more mainstream, bigger name, big brand, I guess you could say, spirits, anything regarding justice, and people of oppressed peoples would be like spirits to call on. So Hecate, of course, that's a big one for sure. I have been working Ganesha, Ganapati, he who is the remover of blocks, he who is the like road opener. All of those aspects of Ganesha are like really good for this. So like reciting his mantra as offering to the people to set them free of Alligator Alcatraz is like a way to go. Anubis, Ampu, is another one. He who weighs the heart in the Hall of Ma'at is like another way to go. I mean, if you want justice and you want direct action as a result of it, you know, utilizing these functions of spirits, not just as like, okay, well, you know, Justina is the goddess of justice, you know, okay, yes, fantastic. What other aspects can we get? You know, call on Nike if you work with the Greek pantheon for victory and setting these people free and letting them win their cases, letting them win their over having victory over their situation, right? You know, we see a lot of this pressure to like, okay, these people are being pressured in various ways and through various tools of fascism to accept deportation, right? Give them the courage, the strength, and victory to not just agree to whatever is being thrown in front of them, because they're probably not more than likely. I know in some cases we have actual fact that they weren't being given translators, so they're being given paperwork in English and no one can translate it, so they can't even read it and they're being told to sign. So these are the kind of things that we need to be thinking about in order for us to be working spirits, ancestors, deities, in order to be assisting from wherever we're at.
So tasty. All of that, yes. As someone who used to be a caseworker for migrants and worked with the immigration process, I can absolutely verify that they do not like to print the information in Spanish. They do not take Spanish applications. It has to all be in English per laws. And that is bullshit. Truly bullshit. And I never understood that, and I'll never understand that, but it's just ignorance, and it's ableism, and it's, you know, racism, and it's all of the isms. The bad isms, I should say.
Yeah.
What was I going to... Oh, Lynn, I was actually going to ask you a question, because you and I were having a very spirited conversation earlier this week about La Santa Muerte. I was wondering if you could maybe bring her up a little bit, especially maybe if you're willing to talk about a little bit of what we were talking about, because listeners, I have a little fascination, a little taste of her, and I want to hear more. Tell me more.
So Santa Muerte, love her, adore her. She is the center of my religion, essentially. I only recently have started working with her in justice-related things. It was something that was taught to me, but when it comes to like justice and court-related things, I feel like you have to be very careful about how you approach those things. And I did not have the experience to do that at the time.
Yeah, absolutely. So working a court case is a lot, right? There's so many circumstances and conditions, and we're really playing the scales here in terms of like doing court work of like, okay, we have to make sure that we're moving things properly, because one wrong move and like your client has now been detained, your client is now been found guilty, right? So with La Santísima, for listeners, I'm also a devotee of La Santísima. I've been a devotee of her for about 10 years now, and she loves to come for court work. Now, for those of you who don't know, La Santísima, she is a patron for the oppressed, for marginalized communities, for those who are being targeted in various ways. She is that aspect of death that does not matter who you are or where you come from. At the end of your life, she will be there for you. She is La Madre. She is the mother, you know. So to work with her for this, especially with such a heavy Latino community, is like super important. But, you know, as Len was saying, you know, working a court case can be so delicate, and so you really have to make sure you have all your ducks in a row to like line that up, because you're working not just the prosecutor, the lawyers, the judges, if they're the jury, you're not just jujuing the courtroom itself, but you're also working the spirits of the courtroom, right? There are spirits who rule over courtrooms. If you are really good at picking up on spirits and you've ever been inside a courthouse, place is chock full, okay? There are spirits everywhere and they are all doing various things. So now you are working with these spirits, trying to formulate relationships there, and then making sure everything is working the way it should.
I was looking up, because you mentioned Hecate, and I would call myself a devotee, but I would call myself a lapsed devotee, because like our relationship is very... I say relationship lightly, but like I think we all know what I mean by that. Like, she's not my big bosom mama, but she is like everything. And we have, like, she has been steering me more towards, like, relationships with other spirits, like familiars and things like that, but also just, like, do it yourself. Like, why are you calling on me to exact justice? Go be the justice. Just be the justice. Do it in my name. Has been very much the vibe I'm getting from her. She's like, stop crying out to me to fix it. I gave you the tools to fix it. Go do something.
That is the like most Hecatean, like most accuracy of her that I've ever heard. Because 1,000% when she showed up for me, it was like, okay, I taught you what to do. Go do it.
And she has just like one of those things like when I think about Hecate, and I especially think about, like, the injustices that happen, because she is like the goddess of the marginalized, and, everybody can go to Hecate. That she does not turn anybody away. Now, she doesn't, I don't know that she seeks people out. I felt like she might have sought me out, but I don't know. That's a theory we can go in for some other time. But what I do think is that anybody can approach her. Anybody could, cry out to her, because she is like that crossroads spirit that you were talking about earlier. She is the epitome of the crossroads, and she is one of those things that, like, she hears the cries. Like, she has those dogs too. Like, she has her own dogs that sniff out and find the injustices. Like, there's even myths and lore about her leading the wild hunt instead of Diana. And so, like, you have to think that if she's out there doing the holiday in November, that's kind of a newish holiday. It's like November 16th, and it's like the night devoted to Hecate. For some reason, people just agreed that that's the night. And she is supposed to be out exacting vengeance on that night. Like, she's out there getting these motherfuckers who need to get got. And so I would absolutely say that she is close to me, but she's very much like telling me, you need to fucking do it. You need to go fight fascism. You need to be the one that's like the dissenting voice. And like the whole reason we have a show is because like she was like, you have the tools, do the thing, get the voices together, And I think that's what needs to happen right now is like we need you said something way earlier that I've been chewing on still, and it's just like the concept of like we need to be getting we have to start small, but that means we should all be working together. Like, okay, instead of going after Trump, why don't we go after that motherfucker Stephen Miller? That racist Klansman, bald-headed motherfucker who says the most hateful things. Why is nobody shouting from the rooftops about taking him out? Like, we are all focusing on Trump, and, like, rightfully so. He is, like, the one that everybody is, like, seeing, but, like, there are people around him that need to be gotten, And I say that, and knowing full well that ICE just passed a law. Like, ICE is currently listening to our conversations, probably, according to the news that we see coming out, where they've just gotten... there's so many things wrong with that, but the point is, these motherfuckers gotta get got.
Period. No, seriously.
Yep.
They really do, and I think that's something that people a work that people should be doing as well, right? I think in regards to the community of practitioners, I feel like a lot of people are overwhelmed and don't know what type of work to do. They're like, okay, I need to do something, but I just am so scattered. I don't know what to do. I need blah, 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 blah. What do I do? Pause. Everyone freeze. Pause. Take a deep breath. Let it out. As a practitioner, you should be doing divination first and foremost. Your spirits know your talents. Your spirits know the type of work you excel at. Ask what type of work you should be doing in regards to who. And then go do it. Don't get so caught up in this whole kind of commercialized kind of practice of like, I need to get this ingredient and this here, blah, blah, blah. Tell your spirits to tell you what you can get that's either in your apartment or in your home already, in your cabinets, or what's within a fucking 20 foot radius of your space, and have them tell you what you need, and then go grab it and do whatever you need. Like, for example, for me, I typically always have like galangal and fennel around. Like these are
fennel. Fennel.
I studied I studied like elemental traditional Chinese medicine, energetic traditional Chinese medicine. So like I typically have a lot of these style of herbs around. Those two herbs, in regards, kind of coming back to like Len talking about court cases, work wonders in court cases. The amount of times all I've had to tell a client is like, you take a black bag, fill it with fennel, tie it, don't open it, keep it on you while you're in the courtroom, you're good. Fennel will do the rest, right? I think
Fennel's amazing.
Fennel is that girl. But, I think people are overcomplicating things. It doesn't need to be something insane. It doesn't need to be something crazy. Take one of the pinnacles of Saturn, burn it, take those ashes, sprinkle it around certain areas of certain people or certain institutions. For example, if you were to take Pentacle 7 from the Keys of Solomon, do what you need to get that shit working, burn it, throw it in some salt, throw it in some other kind of herbs, Saturnian herbs, martial herbs, things like that, and go sprinkle it around a detainment center. Pentacle 7 is for, literal earthquakes, but it's also to like destabilize. So
we're gonna just knock the place down.
Destabilize the institution, the organization, the systems, right? This can help in wonders, right? Now, do be careful, because there are records of this actually causing like earthquakes. But utilizing it in a way that you're like, okay, spirits, I'm gonna utilize this tool, but I can't have this be the form of it taking an earthquake, because like, let's say there are people in there that we don't need to be targeting, that we're trying to help. We don't need the building crashing down like that. But, if we can destabilize the functions there, right? A lot of people suddenly quitting, right, inside the detainment center, right, to the point where they can't even keep it up and running. Suddenly, there are problems in which the infrastructure is unsafe for even the ICE officers and stuff like that. Things of which they can't even, making sure that the officers can't even get to work. All these things that are kind of keeping the system up and running. If we can stop those things, they're going to have to do something in order to either fix it or release these people, right? Now, this is where we have to layer work, right? I'm not saying everyone needs to do all 10 things, but I'm saying like, okay, if some of us are doing road opener work or lock work to open all these locks, and some people are destabilizing and distracting over here, this allows for us to kind of be working in a more systematic approach to take things down versus everybody just kind of firing at random. Just my
absolutely
opinion on that. Yeah.
And I think that there needs to be in the witch bitch resistance. Okay, there is a lack of central, and I say this because like, it's by design. Like, witches are not a collective, we think the same thing kind of like a thing. That's by design. But there is still a lack of cohesive thought processes where these coordinated things needs to happen. Like, we are in a war, and as much as we want to pretend it's not happening, and as much as we like to think that, like, oh, it's just metaphorical, no, people have already died, shots have already been fired. We are in a war, guys, and, like, witches, hear me. Y'all need to get together. I'm not saying you have to turn into a coven. I'm not saying you have to turn into even a study group, but you need to be talking. You need to be getting...
It would be a good idea to.
It would be a really good idea to, but you need to be talking, and you got to be coordinating, and you got to be like, I'm good at... I can light candles and pray to the spirits, and somebody else could be like, well, I know how to take those spirits and turn the pentacles into, this. And somebody else does the road opener. Somebody else does this. We all work together doing what we really are good at. Suddenly, we become a force to be reckoned with. And you heard that first from General Lydian here at the Army of the Witches. For when we all rise up inevitably and take over the country.
I want to just make a point on what you said of, like, we are in a war, whether you realize it or not. One of my fellow historians said something fantastic, and, like, I kind of already understood this, but for somebody to say it out loud the way they did was just so fantastic. And it was like, world wars are not named until after they're over.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
The people who were currently in or were living through World War I or World War II, it was not called that until later on, or towards the end of the war itself, right? So how are you really going to wait until it's either already done or almost, and everything shit has hit the fan, which it already has, to be like, oh, you know what? There's something going on. Like, yeah, no shit, it's been going on. You've waited too long, right? And so that is like you said, Lydia, like, it's so important to be getting with your community. And I think too, with the way that the United States is currently structured, it's very easy to be like, I'm just going to isolate. I am just going to isolate because it feels safe, it feels nice, it feels calm. I can just kind of close myself off. It's self-defense, right? Do it scared. Because either way, it needs to happen.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Absolutely. I also think that when we sit here and want to isolate, it comes from a place of, it's self-preservation. But at the same time, we need to stop that. I get it, guys. I'm tired too. I'm so fucking tired. I don't want to do this. I don't want to do this again. I've already lived through this once. And I honestly wish I would go back to a first Trump term compared to what we have now. Because at least he didn't know what the fuck he was doing. Now he does. He knows exactly what he's doing. And he is not stopping until it's done. This is the fastest that anybody has seen authoritarian regimes consolidate power. That we are moving at an exponential rate. The time to sit by and wait for it to be over is done. We have to be fighting.
Agreed. We have to be fighting is such an important statement. And coming back to, like, my earlier statement, we all need to be fighting does not mean you all need to be out there on the front lines, okay? We all don't need to be there, but we do need to be doing something, right? Fighting, the word fighting, means action. Action needs to be occurring, okay? That is where we need to see what it is that we can do. We need to set aside, like, it doesn't matter what kind of practice you have, right? Go do something, right? If you, as Lydian was saying earlier, like, okay, if you're really good at road openers and someone else is really good at, protection work, and someone else is really good at deploying spirits, work together.
Yeah.
Work together, figure out what it is that you guys can be doing together. Maybe it is more of, like, the healing style work, right? Because, like, really big in the community, I think someone said it on one of the other episodes, it's like everybody wants to be like, oh, I'm the healer, blah blah blah. Like, okay, cool. In order to heal, you must first know how to kill, and in order to kill, you must first know how to heal. That is something that my spirits have taught me with having wrathful spirits. So yeah, I can absolutely heal wounds. I can absolutely heal a lot of different work. I've done my time in that style of work, and if that's what you need to do, that's great. But we can't all be sitting back and being like, I'm just gonna light the candle for healing and peace. Okay, cool. If that's what you're meant to do, do it. But not all of us are meant to do that. Some of us need to be out doing stuff to actually secure that peace, to ensure that we have it, to ensure that it is ours and that we have it for our communities, because we already have that ripped away from us.
That is, I didn't think that when we were going, actually that's a lie. When we started out to do the show, I absolutely knew that we were calling all the witches to arms, and that's exactly what we're doing now, is we're calling you to arms. If you can hear this, if you hear this message at all, it's time. We're recruiting you. The witches' army is now being formed. I'm saying this for the first time, and I think Lynn is taken aback. No, I'm kidding. I adore you. You are so funny. You just look at me like, I can't believe you just said that.
Are you talking about me? No. That's not what was happening. When it comes to immigration, ICE, Alligator Alcatraz specifically, all these things, this also has a personal effect. I've seen this in my family. I helped my dad go through the immigration process. It's a lot of people will talk about it but don't really understand so it's a lot, and it's heavy, and it is I get angry, I get worked up, so I'm just trying not to
I want you to get worked up. No, I really it is one of those things that it should get you worked up. You should be angry. You should be upset that these atrocities are happening to your fellow human being, and the fact that not enough of us are angry is infuriating. And I wish that we could just shake some of these people into sense, but what I'm trying to do, and what I think we're trying to do here on the show, is shake you witches. Wake you up. It's time to wake up. The time for the love and light and the we're not going to hex anybody and we're going to, we're past that now. We are past that. Whatever you 100%. Send out comes back to you 3 times. That's some bullshit. That is your personal gnosis. That is not mine. That is not the witches at large. What we need to do is we need to be burying these bitches. We need to be sending some of them to... I am very much so mad that I think, especially with what happened in Chicago recently, the fucking building that got ransacked by ICE, and children were zip-tied, naked, in the streets, in the middle of the fucking night. Are you shitting me? Absolutely not. Absolutely not. No, the time has come for us to be burying these motherfuckers. We need to stop with this whole concept that we are not meant to harm anybody. Exactly what Sebastian said earlier. You don't know how to fucking heal if you don't know how to harm. And some of you aren't doing enough harming, okay? I'm just going to call you out. I hope you hear me, and I hope you get mad at me, and I hope you try to send something. You can send it to Sebastian at...
By all means, I will take your fodder. You just better be prepared for what comes next.
Like that. I love that.
Yep.
But I'm sorry that I'm getting on this soapbox. I just am very passionate that, we had Marshall on the show last week, and Marshall was very, inspirited about wanting to encourage us that that now is the time to take your voice back. Now is the time to the war on stories. Now we say this this camping, the camp of the disappeared, illegal detentions, you name it. It's this the power has to return to the people now, and we are not realizing that if we don't seize that power, then it is being taken from us. They need to be reminded. This government needs to be reminded, need to be afraid of their people. They should be. And I think as
100%
witches...
they need to be.
And I think as witches, we need to remind them why they're afraid of us.
I was just going to say that. Remember that we were feared, and there's a reason why we were feared. Fear can be a good thing in certain amounts. And I think we need to remember, as the kind of umbrella term of witches, we are the scariest thing in the dark.
Yeah. No, 100%. We are the scary. We are the justice that comes in the night. We are the bump that you're afraid of. We are these. We are the old gross hags. Okay, every single one of us on this podcast, we are gross hags. You know, like, look at me. I have warts on stuff in places that you shouldn't go to. But the point is that we are to be feared. But we should be feared. God damn it, we are witches. Like, do you see Candace Owens getting so scared of us because of what happened to Charlie Kirk and the alleged possibility that fucking witches did the cursing? No, good. Be afraid.
Keep it going.
And the internet trolls that like to come on our pages and be like, "Oh, witches! Oh, you call yourself a big scary witch? All right, give me a strand of your hair. You scared?
I don't even need a strand of your hair.
Give me your
text. You put
I
a
just
comment
even know
under
what you look like.
You put a under, yeah, exactly. You put a comment under my post. Guess what? Tag log. Thank you. You can have no photo on your profile. You can have no name on your profile. Guess what? My spirit's great at information gathering. You already made a comment. Thank you. Door open. Access granted. All I need.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I also, I used to be one of these witches, right, that said I wasn't going to hex everybody. Because why do I want to spend my energy on these people? I still think a little bit of that. There are some people in my life that don't deserve my hexes, don't deserve my curses, they don't deserve my energy. But every one of these motherfucking fascist cunts deserves every single thing that I can throw at them. So, to go back to what you said, Sebastian, and what you said, Lynn, we all have things that we're good at. Get better at them. Start throwing it. And here at the Ember Report, I can guarantee you, the whole point of us telling you like these headlines in the beginning is that we're showing you where to throw your magic. Like, that's why we do it. It isn't just because we like to hear the news and hear ourselves talk. We're telling you, this is what you should be paying attention to. Fuck this. Do something about it. And it isn't just Alligator Alcatraz. There are many other detention facilities out there that need to be got. And honestly, there's a thing that... actually, it leads me into our next topic. We, at the show, we love to come up with our little workings. We try to give y'all something to leave with. Not that we think anybody doesn't know how to fucking craft a spell. But this is one way we can all maybe do the same thing. If we are going to do something together, here is something you can do, but you need to actually do it. Like, we have given, we leave you, at the Ember Report, we leave you with something, so you cannot walk away and say that you did not know what to do. We're giving you something what to do. So with that said, actually, Lynn, you were telling me about a working that you thought would really be good for something like this. What was that? It was, oh my god, Law Keep Away.
Yes. Yes.
Yes. No, that's fine. Like, Law Keep Away stuff, I have to admit I'm not good at, so I'm going to default to the two of you who are more seasoned in those kinds of magics, only because, like, I'm so pale. Guys, I haven't been taught the cool stuff. I don't get taught the fun magics, and that's fine. That's okay, but, like, remind me to tell you guys a story about my neighbor and the post show, which, by the way, we still have a post show. Just don't forget about that. But Law Keep Away. If we were to do this kind of a working, especially because of, like, you know, ICE coming into the cities and coming in the middle of the fucking night, apparently, to just snag people out of their homes and out of their beds. What would you do with this type of a working? Tell me. Give me some tips and tricks.
So I have two ideas, potential ideas. One of them as a amuleto, a charm bag, or an amparo with prayer cards. For the amparo, you would get 2 prayer cards of whatever saint. Some people do Saint Michael, some would do Santa Muerte or a patron saint. Put a picture of the person or their hair in between the two, whatever herbal stuff you want to put in there as well. Sew it up, keep it on them or at the altar. That would work.
Yeah. Sebastian, you look like you were nodding along.
Wonderful work. Like, Len, that's fantastic. Some other ways that I could probably go about this is like invisibility work for the law to not see you. So taking like maybe the logo of ICE or anything with a letterhead, putting it into a black bag and putting it with like mustard seeds and poppy seeds and galangal fennel, like we were saying earlier, and just telling these herbs, praying over them, like, you will hide me from them. You will keep me safe from them. You will keep them away because they cannot see me. They will not see me in any way, shape, or form. And these works are fantastic. The other thing I would say is like including a nail to nail down your rights, to nail down your citizenship, to nail down your safety, to pin it down and make sure that it stakes to you is something that can be utilized as well in various ways to kind of utilize those things. These types of works for the law keep away, utilizing oils, utilizing prayer cards, photos, let's say, for example, too, like a common one is putting prayer cards. Like, let's say if we're worried about them coming in the middle of the night, putting them at prayer cards at the 4 corners of the home to ward against against the law, right? So also telling the spirit of your house, keep them out, don't let them in, don't let them even find this house, right? So that way they can't even, like, okay, I know I was supposed to come to this house, I can't even see it, where is it? And they're just standing outside going in circles. Now, if you can't get prayer cards, one of my favorite things is, and I know people can't see us, but playing cards, they work wonders. The face cards,
absolutely.
Deploy them.
God.
Deploy them as spirits. Put them in the 4 corners. Have them watch. Be on guard for me. Watch for me. Tell me what's happening. Keep me safe. For the kings, if you want to do the 4 kings, be like, I have rulership over these 4 kings, and these 4 kings have rulership over the 4 corners of my home. I rule over here. No one else can take me off of my throne here, right? I cannot be dethroned from my home. I cannot be taken from my kingdom of my home, right? Because that is your domain, right? Basically, if you're an anime fan, like a domain expansion of like, okay, this is me. I have the say of what goes here. Like, no one else can come in here. No cop, no ICE agent can just come in here and take me. They have to get in first. And even if they get in, there is so much juju that I have here. And this is, I'll just say this before we keep going. Wards are so important. Okay, I'm literally writing a whole book on this. Wards are so important. Okay.
Were we just not talking about this, Lynn, before we got on the fucking podcast?
Yes,
that is so funny. That is so funny.
Hell yeah.
Wards are wards are important, and I wanted to say a couple things, because I'm gonna try that with not just like the law keeping away fucking landlords, because a bitch has a landlord problem that I will get into in the after show for our listeners, but not to throw some white on the seasoning, but there is fennel is actually sacred to Hecate. and it's sacred to most deities, but like it is specifically sacred to Hecate because it's one of those liminal things, and we love our liminality on the show. And Fennel is really good at that, and I think if you're going to utilize anything for your working, I think you should really utilize the spirit of Fennel, and you can even call on Hecate. For those of you who don't, we're too white for all that, that spicy stuff that y'all be doing. I quit.
I will share. Oh, go ahead.
Like no. Utilizing the spirit of Fennel is really important in any kind of, like, in my opinion, any kind of law keeping away work, because like it is a really good ward, a really good protection, and also a really good offering if you are burning, if you're working with other spirits or allies, burning Fennel as a offering to the spirits that you're working with is really good too. Excuse me. So like, don't sleep on Fennel.
And just to make a note on like Hecate and Fennel, and kind of just giving that like different perspective, we talk about like, okay, using saint cards and like other kind of symbolisms and aspects in that regard, praying the Psalms. What you could do, as maybe for our Hecatean devotees listening, is take a seal of Hecate. For example, Jason Miller's seal of Hecate, which I have utilized for court workings multiple times, and it has worked wonders. Take that, put the Fennel in the middle of it, say a incantation to Hecate, if you an Orphic hymn, utilizing these kind of concepts that we're using, because it's just tools, right? We're utilizing tools, and then taking the Fennel, now that it's been consecrated, waking up that spirit and utilizing it in a similar way, maybe taking the seal that you used for Hecate and putting that in the black bag with the Fennel itself. Works wonders. Yeah. Okay, my partner still carries their black bag of Fennel with Hecate seal in it to this day, and it's been like 3 years that they've had it.
I love that. I would also say this, just a little taste, one more thing about Hecate, because I could talk about Hecate all day, even though she's so distant lately, but that's okay. Look up her epithets. She has like over 600 different epithets, okay? Most of any god out there, like one of the most we could find to date, there is several that deal directly with like injustice and balancing the scales. Don't ask me to name them right off the bat, but like another thing, Hecate Propylaea, throw open the gate. She can throw open the gate of the prison, let the people out. And I think that not to end on that note, I think that honestly that's enough to give people,
Absolutely, because I can keep going and going and going.
Right.
Particularly.
With that said, I think we have a show. This has been the Ember Report, where resistance is necessary and spells are not optional. I'm Lydian, the voice in the flame.
And I'm Len, the witch of the crossroads.
And I'm Sebastian, the sorcerer of Annihilation.
If today's fire stirred something in you, share it. Cast it wide, because we are just getting our feet wet, but we have a lot of ground to cover. And the more of you listening, the better. Especially, just a real quick aside, to our listeners in the Czech Republic and Italy. Apparently we have quite the audience growing there, and I just wanted to reach out to y'all and say, hey, nice to see ya. Nice to see you.
Well, if you'd like to linger a while, there's always tea on the stove, a place in the resistance, and room at our table.
And we will be carrying this Ember over to Ashes and Sparks, our Patreon after show, for an extended conversation with our new co-host, Sebastian. You can find that at patreon.com/The Ember Report, where for as little as $1, you get access to our after show and other tricks and things that we're going to start sprinkling in there. We're going to try and get that really up and going for you guys here soon. But like the after show for sure is like good stuff. I would definitely go and listen to that. But until next time,
may our rage spark resistance.
May our grief become fire.
May our magic be sharp and unrepentant.
The lantern is lit.
You're still out there.
And so are we.